Every once in a while, there is a story, a work of fiction that fills your heart with life. Stories like these are often just as effective as therapy, and Mob Psycho is exactly that. A wonderfully written coming-of-age tale of not only the protagonist Shigeru Kageyama, but also the people associated with him. In just 37 episodes and 3 seasons, it tells us an emotionally rich, wonderfully animated, and brilliantly written story of a young man who finds solace not in his near-invincible strength, but in kindness. You see, the message of Mob Psycho is the same as what wise men of all ages have been telling us since the beginning of the world. Be kind, have self-respect, do not hurt others. This is also why we have such awe and fascination for our main character. He embodies the story's key message and is a testament to the anime's thematic consistency. And well, in this video, we'll do a detailed introspection of both the anime and the main character. Now, if you haven't been fortunate enough to watch this beautiful work of art and are worried about spoilers, I want you to sit tight and relax, maybe even grab your favorite beverage. We won't discuss any specific spoilers in this video, just a few observations on what makes this anime so unique and why Mob as a character is so beautifully written. Are you ready? Starting with the premise, the story takes place in a world where a handful of people are psychics. Our protagonist Shigeru Kageyama, or Mob for short, is one such individual. Thinking holistically, he is a force of nature able to pull off impossible feats thanks to his psychic powers. Rather than being full of himself or looking down on others, Mob maintains a much more grounded outlook on life. He doesn't want to hurt other people, which is why his powers, at least to him, are insignificant. The story makes it abundantly clear that Mob's real strength isn't his ability to do things other humans can't. Instead, it's his limitless compassion. Mob is simply a genuinely kind soul. Mob is more impressed by his little brother Ritsu, who is better than him in many ways, including intelligence, social skills, academics, athletics, and whatnot. Think about it. He is proud of his little brother and aims to be more like him. If you have been around the block, you know how rare it is to find an older brother genuinely proud of his little brother. Things generally aren't like that because unnecessary nonsense like pride, arrogance, and ego get in the way. However, of course, his little brother feels insecure because of Mob's supernatural abilities. In his eyes, it's Mob who is special, not himself. And when he finally does awaken his own psychic powers, he expresses his desire to fight Mob and prove himself as the stronger of the two. But Mob pays him no heed. And later, when the conflict of the particular arc is over, Mob once again expresses how proud he is of Ritsu. And those words are pure enough to move Ritsu to the point of tears. It's just a compliment, nothing less, nothing more. A simple compliment, and yet right then, in that very moment, that was what Ritsu needed. The entire story is an amalgamation of these emotional moments designed to leave you speechless. A quote attributed to Bill Bullard states that empathy is the highest form of knowledge, for it requires us to suspend our ego and live in another's world. It requires profound, larger-than-self kind of understanding. The relevance of this quote in the context of Mob Psycho cannot be understated because it speaks to the innate sense of empathy within all of us. Consider this. During the Mogami arc in the second season, Mob was forced to live in a life of pain and misery in a fabricated world where he had no friends or family to support him. He was alone, or should I say, he was made to feel lonely because of all the bullying and endless tormenting. Mogami's goal was to make Mob feel anger. It was to make him develop a pessimistic and cynical view of the world, one in which he forsakes everyone and falls into a pit of despair. And yes, Mob is no Gary Sue, and he definitely isn't perfect. He gets angry and begins to resent the bullies who torture him all day, every day. At some point, enough has to be enough. But that doesn't make him any less compassionate, as he is willing to forgive them when the time comes. Through his actions and words, Mob makes it clear that all the negativity and bitterness of the world isn't enough for him to forsake others. In fact, it only makes him more grateful for his friends and family in the real world. What a simple and beautiful way of looking at things. What a simple and beautiful way of looking at life. Sure, shonen protagonists are all larger-than-life guys, but you'll hardly find anyone as nuanced and genuine as Mob. His character writing is an essay on compassion. The simplicity of his actions is a work of art. Time and time again, the anime drops emotional bombs and it becomes a heart-wrenching mess for the audience. Also, during the second season, another instance is surreal enough to leave you speechless. When Mob was a child, he wasn't sure about his powers and how he should use them, so he happened to show up at the place of a pseudo-psychic named Reigen Arataka. And this man just reeks of charisma. After all, he managed to make a living out of talking nonsense to paranoid people. I kid you not, it doesn't matter who you are or where you came from, Reigen has both the emotional and social intelligence to manipulate you however he pleases. Honestly, I applaud the author's ability to write such a straightforward yet fundamentally complex character. Reigen is both a man of principle and a con artist simultaneously. Next, let's talk about his relationship with Mob. When Mob shows up at his place as a child and explains his powers, Reigen tells him something that forever changes how he sees the world. He teaches Mob that his psychic abilities don't define his value or make him special, and he is also told that he shouldn't use his powers on other people. He tells Mob to become a good person. That's all. Reigen hired little Mob, and from there on out, Mob helped Reigen with all sorts of requests that involved him using his psychic abilities. Mob continued to follow his lead. It goes both ways though. Reigen was tired of being a fraud and was about to pick up a job application when Mob pulled up to his place and asked for advice. Initially, he shook off the kid with the advice we just talked about, how he shouldn't hurt others with his powers, but when he realizes that Mob's powers are for real, throughout the years, they both develop an unspoken friendship. Without even realizing it, Reigen starts depending on Mob, not just to run the business, but also as a friend. For what it's worth, Mob was his first ever real friend, and since he is the one who helped Mob, Mob also saw him as a friend, even after realizing he was being manipulated. This is why that final scene of the second season's 7th episode hits so hard. As Grey's Sajo no Hana plays in the background and Reigen struggles to look Mob in the eye, Mob finally reveals that he always knew. He knew it from the beginning. Of course, Reigen thinks that this is going to be about how he is a fraud, but Mob's reply catches him off guard. He simply states that his master is genuinely a good guy. And while he did con people, he also helped them with their problems, even if it often involved a little bit of trickery. That scene is enough to move a grown man to the verge of tears. The scene is basically the crux of Mob Psycho. It summarizes the context of Mob and Reigen's relationship into a single statement, and it makes sense, right? Deep down, Reigen always cared about Mob. Mob Psycho is all about compassion and empathy, but the layers of nuance and subtlety go over so much more than this. Mob is hardly the epicenter of the story. There are other characters as well. Some have forsaken themselves, some have feelings of insecurity, and some lack the confidence to do the right thing. We can go deep into any single aspect of this anime in a future analysis. Let me know if you guys want something like that in the comment sections below. But for what it's worth, I think the best way to finish this video would be by talking about the larger-than-life bodybuilding club. If Mob is the protagonist and Reigen the mentor, then these guys are the true heroes of this show. For them, every day is about improving themselves, yet there isn't a shred of ego, arrogance, or superficial pride. None of that. The thing about Mob is that while he may have extraordinary psychic abilities, his physique is frail. He can't even do a basic workout before passing out. But it's okay because he has the full support of everyone at the bodybuilding club. Just pure, selfless, positive energy from one bro to another. They inspire not just him, but also us watching from behind the screen. It's peak wholesomeness. The golden words, "fight on," still ring in my head. I can still hear them. They never look down on him for being weak, nor do they judge him. In every sense of the word, they are his genuine friends. We have used the word genuine quite often in this video, but these relationships and characters in Mob Psycho cannot be labeled any other way. As you go further into the story, you also begin to understand that the members of the bodybuilding club are also their own characters. For example, the stereotypical thug, Tenga Onigawara, was your average insecure bad guy, or at least that's how the other students perceived him to be. And as usually happens in these situations, he begins to act in accordance with the label he has been given until he joins the bodybuilding club and vows to be better. Mob Psycho's storytelling deserves all the attention and praise it gets, and we haven't even gotten into all the action, the hype, the adrenaline rush, and the crazy visuals. It's so good that fans rarely have to point to some particular hype moment or visually appealing action scene to recommend it to others. The writing and the pacing alone are enough. And by the way, while Mob is this sweet and gentle boy who seeks to be kind and better himself, he will never stand idly by when someone attacks someone he loves unprovoked. If someone as kind as Mob loses it, you know you messed up big time. He will take your soul, or maybe not. It depends on which episode you're watching. So there you have it, folks. These were my 2 cents on the acclaimed Mob Psycho 100 anime series that recently concluded. If you haven't had the chance yet, check it out. Now, you can binge watch all 3 seasons on your weekend. Trust me, it's well worth it. Mob may look all plain and boring at first, but his persona is larger than life. And if you've already watched the series, please share your thoughts on what you love about this series down below. I'm always looking forward to reading them. Well then, with that said, I'll see you guys in my next video. Take care.